It's over, wizard. We have you surrounded and outnumbered.
Surrounded? I don't think so. Outnumbered for sure, but not for long. I just need to know how many people I can kill. Ah, well that is handy.
Join me today as I share my secret to making really cheap and versatile spell markers for D&D using the king of the stationery products.
Because I know what the king of the stationery items
Oh,
is.
wouldn't it be wonderful if it's the same thing?
And I genuinely don't know what you brought in. Should we say it together?
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
A
laminator!
Yes, the king of stationery, the laminator, has even more uses than you first may have thought. I'm just going to grab the lamination pockets and put them through the laminator without putting anything inside. And from this, we get a really strong, flexible, thin, durable piece of plastic that is easy to cut and can be written on with wet, dry, and permanent markers. For making this set of spell markers, I put 5 or 6 sheets through. To ensure the spell templates are the right size for D&D, I print a 1-inch grid on a piece of paper and then stick it to my cutting mat with some packing tape. I then start measuring out my cone. I'm going to start off with a cone because that is by far the hardest thing to manage in Dungeons & Dragons, getting the right size cone. So for marking this out, I start with the point of origin and I mark every 10 feet or 2 inches, except for at the 15-inch mark where I also mark that down. I then mark the outer edge or like the very end of the cone, and for this I mark each one starting from the center. I mark it halfway out of the full length. So if the cone is 10 foot, I measure 5 foot from the end. And if the cone is 20 foot, I measure 10 foot, and so on. And then I just connect all of those lines together in a nice cone shape. And this gives us a really good pyramid shape that we can use as our cone. And then I just mark out each of the lengths. However, most things in D&D, they don't just stop at 40 feet. No, the cone goes a bit further. However, I don't have any more space left on this sheet. So what I do, after cutting it out, I stick on a second sheet of A4, this time landscape. I then just line up all of the lines that I previously drawn and continue on making the cone. And I used clear sticky tape here to stick these two pieces together, making sure to line them up so there's no gaps. And once I'm done cutting these out, I flip it over and stick some sticky tape along the back as well. This is good. You can do it before or after marking your lines because the lines will go down just as fine on the sticky tape. And you can also use wet or dry erase markers on sticky tape as well. And at the end, a 60-foot cone is just enough to fit on the A4 piece. It just reaches the edges. It might even be a little tiny bit too small. I then grab a bunch of round things from the house. I've got a couple of different plates, some bowls, a CD, a tin of Milo, and I just try to find something that is roughly the size of the spells in Dungeons & Dragons. What I'm looking for most importantly is the ever so faithful fireball. Now that is 20 foot in the radius, so that means it is 40 foot in diameter. And luckily a plate that I have also fits that. Again, for this piece, because it's so big, I just take an offcut from the cone and I tape that onto another piece of A4. And that gets the entire piece of plastic much more in the realm of the size that I can cut. And of course, we can't be forgetting about the rare but ever so useful square spells. Now, while these are usually pretty easy to dot out on a battle map, sometimes they tend to linger around. So I thought I might as well make these, that way I can place them underneath miniatures when they have the spell cast on them. And one A4 piece of photo laminate fits 2 10-foot squares, a 20-foot square, and a 30-foot square. I just mark all of those out and then cut them out with a pair of scissors again. Really, really easy. And the last piece I make is the 100-foot line for lightning bolt. But I also put some markings on it, so it can be used as a ruler as well if occasionally needed. I cut 2 pieces at 50 foot or 10 inches and taped them together just like the last real big pieces. And the great part is they all fold down to their original A4 size in some way and can easily slide into a folder. It's for easy storage, real nice and thin, doesn't take up a lot of space. Photo laminate paper is so cheap, go out and buy a laminator right now and laminate everything in your life. Anyway, thanks for watching, I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you next week with something different.